Solis rides a 5-fight winning streak since a controversial 12-round unanimous decision loss and third-round no decision in back-to-back challenges against 118-pound belt holder Jamie McDonnell in 2016 and 17. In his last fight last July in Panama City, Panama, he starched Carlos Diaz in the opening round. He's a former belt holder at 115 pounds. And Rigondeaux, who in his last fight surprised everyone by engaging in a phone booth war coming from behind to stop Julio Ceja, a former unified 122-pound champion who is, well, nearing the age of 40, and yet he is dropping down. He says he could probably make 115 if he had to. Well, first things first, let's see how he fares at 118 pounds, one of the most decorated amateur boxers in history, a two-time Olympic gold medalist as we go to the tail of the tape.
Yeah, it's intriguing. You know, two numbers to look at, of course, is the fact that these are, in these lower weight classes, you seldom see men at 39 and 37 vying for a world title. That's exactly what we have here. Now, intriguing that Rigondeaux, even though he has been at higher weights when he rehydrated tonight, still only came in at 121. And Solis, a former super flyweight champion, came in at a higher weight at 127, so it's kind of intriguing.
With the official introductions, here again is Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Well, fans, from the PPL Center here in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Premier Boxing Champions presents the first of our world title attractions, brought to you by TGB Promotions in association with King's Promotions, Warriors Boxing, and Showtime. Sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. This bout is sanctioned by the WBA, the president, Gilberto Jesus Mendoza, supervisor, George Martinez. Judging at ringside, all from the state of New York, Don Ackerman, Ron McNair, and Kevin Morgan. Introducing our referee in charge, he'll be giving instructions after the introductions, Benji Esteves. All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds of boxing for the vacant WBA Bantamweight Championship of the World. Introducing to you first on my right, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the colors of the Venezuelan flag, yellow, blue, and red. Fighting out of Panama City by way of Maracay, Venezuela, he weighed in at 117 3/4 pounds. His record, 30 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no decision. He has 14 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, in his 6th world title appearance, please welcome the WBA #1 ranked bantamweight contender and the former WBA super flyweight champion of the world, introducing Liborio Solís.
Ay, 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 mi hermano.
And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner in this vacant world title attraction, wearing gold trunks with purple and white trim, fighting out of Miami, Florida, by way of Santiago de Cuba. He weighed in at a ready 117 1/2 pounds. His record stands at 19 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest, with 13 wins coming by way of knockout. Currently ranked the WBA #2 Bantamweight World Contender, and tonight, in his 11th world title appearance, here is the former unified WBA and WBO 122-pound champion of the world, known as the Jackal. Introducing Guillermo El Chacal Rigondeaux.
You're a legend, let's go.
And once again, here's our referee in charge. Now to give instructions, Benji Esteves.
Liborio, Guillermo, ya recibieron sus instrucciones. Pelea limpia, obedezca mis instrucciones todo el tiempo y más importante, protégese todo el tiempo. Aquí está bien y aquí estamos bien. Suerte para los dos.
Referee Benji Esteves, 28 years of pro experience, his 718th professional bout, already has worked to 2 title fights in 2020, and now the secondary 118-pound title up for grabs in this one.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the business.
Bell and round 1, Guillermo Rigondeaux who is sporting the gold with purple and white trunks, while Liborio Solís in his U.S. debut is in the yellow, blue, and red colors, the Venezuelan flag. And immediately it's Solis attacking.
And Solis going to the body. 40% of the punches he lands are to the body.
Wanting Solis to just unload everything out.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, Solis loves that body work, and he's going right there.
Yeah, and Rigondeaux really tightening up with that high guard. Maybe looking to eventually make Solis pay.
And there's the first punch by Rigondeaux, but then he got countered with a right hand upstairs. So Solis quickly going on the attack.
Look at the tight defense of Rigondeaux. He's actually flexing his arms. He doesn't want anything to get through.
So that's why Solis is also trying to go to the body. That's a little bit more available than the head is.
Well, Ronnie Shields wanted Rigondeaux to revert back to that tactical form that made him a two-time Olympic gold medalist, while everyone enjoyed the fistic firefight with Julio César. Oh, Rigondeaux unloading two left hands that momentarily bother Solis. Shields wanted Rigondeaux to go back to what is, but Rigondeaux looking for the finish here.
Another thing about Rigondeaux, everything the guys in the last fight were misjudging about distance, Rigondeaux has. He's going to be the opposite, and he's going to understand his distances and his positioning at all times.
By the way, I hope that Rigondeaux will publish the diet he has used at the age of 39 to go down in weight, Al.
Yeah, amazing. And he said, you know what, I ate dinner, I ate breakfast this morning, I'm feeling good.
Left hook, clipping.
He's the kind of guy that always had trouble getting fights, so good hook there by Solis.
Another hiccup. Oh, and Rigondeaux momentarily bothered, holding on and then firing off the left hand, but it looked like that punch may have bothered Rigondeaux momentarily.
Yeah.
Well, César got in some great left hooks and had Rigondeaux in just a momentary trouble. So.
And Rigondeaux was trailing on all three scorecards when he stopped César in his last fight, and Solis with a great start here. So much for defenses. We've got action right from the start.
Yeah, that big shot had turned the fight around.
Wow, Solis is just unloading everything on Rigondeaux, and Rigondeaux desperately trying to hold on. Not a great start for the Cuban. And again now.
Yeah, he's hurt. I think he's hurt.
Rigondeaux has been down 3 times in his career, and it's all Solis. And the fans restless with Rigondeaux's body language. I don't know what's going on. There's a left hand, and yet every time Rigondeaux scores with the left, oh, right hand by Solis. Wow, interesting start. Confusing.
Rigondeaux gave him a hand like, all right, buddy. That was a good round.
That was pretty good. Well, for Solis, it was the dream start, and Rigondeaux fighting this fight exactly as he did against Julio César. And here we'll see on the inside, it's the left hook of Solis that gets in. He's got a very good left hook, and it's a punch that he can throw. That, along with the uppercut, are big punches for him. And then toward the end of the round, there's the hook again by him, and then at the end of the round, Solis would land a powerful right hand, as Rigondeaux keeping his hands very low and getting nailed with that big right hand. So a terrific round for Solis.
That's how you want to look in your debut.
That's for sure.
In America, this is round number 2. And Solis has 14 of his 30 victories via form of knockout. Was trying to stop Rigondeaux there in the opening 3 minutes. Now Rigondeaux utilizing that jab. Again, lived on the La Finca, the farm in Cuba. And I mean, the school of Cuban boxing, that's, you know, for Mensa level fight IQ, Al.
Yeah, it's renowned for where all the Cuban fighters learned how to fight. And now let's see if Rigondeaux tries to keep some distance between himself and Solis. He's trying in this round by pumping the jab out there, even as a rangefinder.
Yeah, a little pairing.
And in the last round, you talk about activity. Solis almost 100 punches. And you know, landing 28 according to show stats, and he certainly landed a lot of big ones.
And we talked about at the beginning of the show that Solis is all about bringing the pressure, and he brought the pressure in round 1, but here in round 2, it's Rigondeaux trying to establish the jab, as you mentioned, Al, bit of a rangefinder, trying to keep Solis at bay. Solis trying to navigate a path to close the distance.
Yeah, and if you control the distance, he obviously can't get off 100 punches. You know, with this last round, Rigondeaux played that
counter left by
defense.
Rigondeaux. And you know, the prime Rigondeaux, referred to as the chancellor of the Cuban boxing school, but Solis is one guy who's going to demand Rigondeaux either fight or flee, and in that first round he definitely brought the fight to the Cuban defector.
Well, in Rigondeaux's youth, I mean, even this style that he's doing here, he was effective, and he'd make you put your hands in your pocket. I don't know if he has the reflexes to continue this kind of style for the whole fight, but let's see if Solis is good enough to make him pay for trying to use this style at his age.
Yeah, Rigondeaux's only loss came to pound-for-pound staple Vasily Lomachenko, where Lomachenko battered Rigondeaux into submission, capitulating on his stool. And of course, coming up in the main event, the only loss on Gary Russell Jr.'s resume is to the aforementioned Lomachenko.
Yeah, Lomachenko's kind of the ghost floating around here tonight, the great Vasily Lomachenko.
And as great as Lomachenko is, Rigondeaux was a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And you can even see it by the fact that he's telling us he can go down all the way to 115 pounds, whereas at this point, Lomachenko is a world champion at 135 pounds.
Yeah, it was too big for him for sure.
30 seconds remaining here in the second. Much more cautious round after plenty of action in the opening round as Solis goes to the body with a right hand. They get caught up in their feet there, which can happen when you have orthodox versus southpaw.
You know, even though Rigondeaux has controlled the geography of this round, the question is, has he landed more effective punches? That's, you know, neither man has landed a lot.
Well, the fans spoiled in that first fight.
So please, come on, fight. Let's take a look at the keys to victory for this, and we will start with Rigondeaux as Shields gives him some talking to. Counter effectively. That when Solis is coming in, I would think he would have to counter. The body. He is a terrific body puncher, and if he's going to stay on the inside with Solis, he better go to the body. The uppercut can be a big fight changer for Rigondeaux, and he's going to have to throw it on the inside. As for Solis, don't square up when you're attacked. He didn't do that in round 1 and 2. And left hooks, yeah, there were some tremendous left hooks thrown by him. One of them changed the round. And he, too, has a great uppercut. So this could be an uppercut fest once they get on the inside.
Round number 3, Solis turned professional at the age of 18, fought 4 times, and then took a break of more than 5 years before resuming his career. Now at 37, hoping to add a 118-pound bobble to the 115-pound title that, well, he lost on the scales.
You know, this is the first lefty that Solis has faced since he fought Shinsuke Yamanaka back in 2016.
And you mentioned a Japanese prize fighter. The current 118-pound belt holders include the unified titleist, the monster pound-for-pound staple Naoya Inoue, John Riel Casimero, and Nordine Ubali.
Yeah, all good champions in the weight division, but Inoue, of course, not only is the monster is an appropriate nickname for him. He and Nonito Donaire, who of course lost to Rigondeaux.
Yeah, Rigondeaux's signature.
Yeah, had a great fight with him.
Oh, good counter left hand lands for Rigondeaux.
At this distance, Rigondeaux can get that left hand in.
And Rigondeaux, I think, is testing the patience of Solis. And you saw Solis a little bit frustrated at the end of the last round, telling him to fight. But that's exactly what Rigondeaux wants: is Solis to lose patience, fly in carelessly, and then make him pay.
Solis is
known for his counter punching.
Solis also isn't cutting the ring when there's not much movement for Rigondeaux, but when he does show some lateral movement, he's able to easily elude Solis.
Solis backing Rigondeaux to the ropes.
This is a tricky thing about Rigondeaux. Look at the distance they're at. He's right in front of you. He's not throwing, but he makes you hesitant to throw yourself because he'll time your shot.
Right hand lands for Solis before Rigondeaux pivots away from the ropes, and Rigondeaux just using that jab, pawing it out there.
You know, Solis has a decent jab. He doesn't use it a lot, but I think right now he needs that punch very badly to help him try and get on the inside and work his way in.
By the way, Rigondeaux's loss to Lomachenko, only pro matchup in history pairing two-time Olympic gold medalists. And in fact, Rigondeaux was considered a favorite to win 3 gold medals before he got in trouble with his country when he tried to defect the first time. Only 3-time gold medalists were Teofilo Stevenson, Felix Savon, and Laszlo Papp. Rigondeaux able to eat up the real estate. Solis allowing him to move laterally. Not a lot of effective punching in round number 3 as Rigondeaux again keeping Solis from going all out like he did in the opening round. Let's go to Jim Gray.
All right, Mo, thank you very much. Here with Gary Russell Jr. Gary, how big a risk do you feel this is against Tug?
Every fight is a possible risk. And anytime you step in the ring with somebody that prepared themselves 6 to 8 weeks for no one else but you, is always a risk. You know, but we prepare ourselves in the gym to try to avoid the risk as much as possible.
What concerns you most about him?
Nothing. You know, my biggest thing is preparing myself to the best of my ability. You know, I think he's technically sound. He got a little pop, but it doesn't really matter. It don't matter if you can't hit what you can't see.
Best of luck, and we'll talk to you after the fight, Gary.
Of course, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Morrow, back out to you.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. Gary Russell Jr. making the 5th defense of his 126-pound title against the undefeated Turkistan Bayar. An intriguing main event coming your way as this 118-pound affair rolls on as we prepare for round number 4, scheduled for 12.
We talked about that, of course, the one loss to Lomachenko. How about the fact that that's the only loss that Rigondeaux has had in 17 years?
Wow.
That's staggering.
Started boxing when he was 13, had 475 amateur fights out.
That includes the amateurs, those 17 years.
Absolutely.
Nobody was beating him there either.
It's a long time to only have one loss.
And yet his style and, you know, many people thought he should be much more than he has been now.
Yeah, I always had some issues in terms of, as you said, some people have not liked his defensive style. Plus, he's had a few periods where he couldn't get the fights he wanted. So right now, this is an intriguing fight in a certain way because round 1 was fought a certain way, and it favored Solis, and he was able to definitely win that round. These last 2 rounds are different, but the question is Rigondeaux doing enough to win them? And power punches, of course, that's everything other than the jab. And most of those were landed, almost all, by Solis in the first round.
Yeah, and compared to our first fight, it's been a power outage in this 118-pound affair. But again, different styles.
Well, yeah, round 1, of course, Solis was able to do a lot on the inside. But in the last 2 rounds, you know, Rigondeaux has been fighting in a much more defensive posture.
And here we are in the Pennsylvania Power and Lighting Arena, and we'll see if there's an uptick in the power as Solis targets the forehead of Rigondeaux just past the midway point of the 4th round.
Got a nice right hand in there. He's trying to land the right hand.
Rigondeaux trying to bait Solis to throw the punch, and he does, and then Rigondeaux pops out the jab.
When I mentioned the key is the counter punching, Rigondeaux would like to counter with the left, straight left, or the left uppercut when Solis comes in.
There's that defensive proficiency on display from Rigondeaux. A minute remaining in the 4th. How can Solis help his cause, Paulie?
I think he's got to feint a little bit, too. He's got to get Rigondeaux to bite a little bit, because what he's doing is he's getting Rigondeaux in the corner or in positions where he can throw, but he's hesitant to throw because he sees Rigondeaux is set to punch and can make him pay. So I think you unset Rigondeaux by maybe throwing a feint first and then punching. And this way, Rigondeaux loses that split second of trying to time you, and then you can punch off of it. Because right now, Solis, I don't think he has the athletic ability to just throw a shot even though he's in position, because Rigondeaux will make him pay. And that's why he knows that too, and he's not really throwing a lot of shots. some feints can change the trajectory of things.
Let's go to Steve Farhood.
Mo, earlier this week, Johnny Bumpus died of cardiac arrest in his native Tacoma, Washington. We saw Johnny last in Tacoma at a Showbox show last July. He was hanging out with Olympic gold medalists Sugar Ray Seales and Leo Randolph. And as you can see in the amateur days, Johnny Bumpus is an outstanding fighter. He was part of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team, maybe the most talented fighter along with Donald Curry. On that team, they didn't compete because we boycotted the games. But he did win a 140-pound title as a world champion. Probably never realized his full potential because of drug problems. And Johnny Bumpus was 59 years old.
Johnny Bumpus earned his place on the 1980 U.S. Olympic team with a victory over Ronnie Shields, the same Ronnie Shields who is in Guillermo Rigondeaux's corner tonight. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to Johnny Bumpus' family and everyone who loved him. Great fighter, Al. This is round number 5, scheduled for 12 at 118 pounds. And Rigondeaux, the southpaw, trying to use his stick to keep Solis at bay. Solis doing a good job of parrying the jab, but not returning fire after a frenetic first round where he threw nearly 100 punches.
You know, in round number 1, according to Showstat, Solis landed 28 punches. Since then, 9. So, you know, it's been very tough. But here's the thing about these rounds since round 1. It's not as if Rigondeaux is doing much offensively either. So, you know, he might be controlling the pace of the fight, but is he winning the rounds? He may be.
And that's the thing, the judges may also be giving rounds for aggression because he's not exactly lighting it up with his output.
Right.
While Ronnie Shields may be happy with what's going on, the crowd here at the PPL Center in Allentown would much rather see the version that we saw against Julio César.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, they're clearly Rigondeaux has a better chance to win a fight that's a little more tactical, but he needs to be offensive-minded in some respects, and he's starting to do that a little bit more in this round.
It's interesting, the sweet science and prize fighting. The same, and yet, you know, not so much.
Yeah.
1 minute, 30 seconds left in the 5th.
Solis trying to get in with the jab, and when he does that, it creates a few opportunities for him. Rigondeaux is 8-1 in championship fights. So this is territory he's not only familiar with, but successful in.
Under a minute left in the 5th. Rigondeaux showcasing his defense, but neither fighter throwing many punches, Paulie.
Yeah, he's going to have to make Solis pay a little bit when he showcases that defense, just so he can put a stamp on these rounds, because otherwise, with not a lot going on, judges will be tempted to just give it to the guy who's coming forward. Especially with the body language here of Solis, where he's just saying, he's trying to make it look like Rigondeaux is not punching, not fighting enough. Which is probably right.
Well, neither man, you know, they've each thrown, just under 40 punches this round, so neither man is throwing a lot.
Rigondeaux saying that most people think he's too old or too defensive. He says he wants to show that he is still a bad man, and Solis lands a right hand, and we are headed to the 6th round of this 118-pound matchup. Let's go to Jim Gray.
All right, Mauro, thank you very much. Danny will interpret for us. Tug, how do you plan on combating the hand speed of Gary Russell?
Gary Russell hand speed got I will fight just my fighting style, so I'm ready for the fight. Whoever wins the fight, it's the best one to win the fight.
Speaking in Mongolian, will you ask Tug about this big opportunity that it represents in his career as he's undefeated now going against this champion? You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
He said I'm ready for the fight, so you know, best man win the fight.
Thank you very much for your time. We're ready to watch you. Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, out to you, Mauro.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. This is round 6, and Solis storming out to the center of the ring, and this is more the Solis we saw in the opening round, stalking Rigondeaux, who has allowed the escape routes.
So normally, as I mentioned at the beginning, Solis lands about 40% of his total connects are to the body. Tonight, it's been 19%. And a lot of that is because early in the first round, he was able to do that when Rigondeaux was standing in front of him, but since then, hasn't been able to get in position to throw a body punch.
It's been more than 8 years between Showtime appearances for Rigondeaux. Back in 2012 on ShowBox, he won the 122-pound title against Rico Ramos. Current lineal, the man who beat the man 120-pound champ, because Rigondeaux recorded that signature victory we alluded to, beating then lineal champion Nonito Donaire in April of 2013. He has not lost at 122 since then. All right, let's bring in our unofficial score, Steve Farhood.
Mo, I have Solis ahead by 1 point. Obviously, the first round was easy to score. After that, there haven't been very many connects by either fighter. 1 point. Just because Solis is aggressive doesn't mean he should win the round. People should keep that in mind, because it's effective aggressiveness that should be rewarded. And I just don't see many punches landed. I've given Rigondeaux one of the rounds since the first, and Solis a couple of them as well. I think it's a close fight.
That Rico Ramos fight, I made one of my guest appearances with our ShowBox friends in a special edition with Steve, and it was a great knockout win that night by Rigondeaux.
For Solis, looking to become another title holder. There's currently one Venezuelan-born titleist, Carlos Canizales, at 108 pounds. There's been 32 champs from Venezuela. The first, Carlos Hernandez, at 140 pounds back in '65. And when you look at the Venezuelan contingent, there's Antonio Esparragoza, 4-division titleist Leo Gamez, and 3-division titleist Jorge Linares.
Yeah, yes. Now, this round is a perfect example of a round that Rigondeaux is not giving himself much of a chance to win, because Solis has thrown double the number of punches, has gotten some in, and Rigondeaux has landed virtually nothing. So this is a round where he gives himself, I don't think, much of a chance to win the round.
Of course, Rigondeaux, like his compatriot Erislandy Lara, very well known for the Cuban School of Boxing. Then later on, as we've seen Lara in Fights of the Years, and now what Rigondeaux did in his last fight. But he's definitely gotten back to what I'm sure his coach Ronnie Shields wanted him to fight like, but I'm sure Ronnie Shields would also like to see a little more offense from Rigondeaux as we go to round 7.
Okay, listen. Look, tell him he gave that round away. He gave the round away because they didn't do nothing. Huh? Tell him you gave that round away. We can't give rounds away, okay? We cannot give rounds away. Look, you got to engage a little bit more now. Engage, but then go.
So Ronnie Shields saying he's giving rounds away.
I mean, you got to dominate this fight. I mean, you know, I know you think he's a chicken and he's running, but you got to go and get him. That's pretty nice and deep. He did give me a headbutt there. Is it okay there? Is that cut okay? Keep working the jab. Keep working the jab.
So both trainers want what the onlookers here at ringside want, more offense from each of their fighters.
Well, I thought Ronnie Shields was exactly right. You have to engage, and then you can move, but you have to engage somewhat. And of course, Ronnie Shields trains Erislandy Lara. He knows, he knows what it's like with Lara having those defensive efforts.
Oh, there's a meaningful shot by Rigondeaux, and he threw it with some intent on it.
Rigondeaux only threw 20 punches in the last round and landed one according to show stats.
There's a left short uppercut to the breadbasket by Rigondeaux as Solis closed the distance.
And that's a very good punch for him, that left uppercut.
There's a left uppercut, staggered, and Solis held up by the ropes. Referee Estevez intervenes. That is going to be ruled a knockdown
guy's a genius. I'm telling you, Rigondeaux.
The 5th time that Solis has been knocked down, and just like a jack in the box, the jackal unloads a shot. And there again, Solis staggered.
He did this last fight. He doesn't have the same ability that he had when he was younger, simply because he's older. But
and again, the left hand, another left hand scores for Rigondeaux.
And this is why Solis wasn't so active, even if he was walking him down, because he knew the possibility of this happening could happen.
Rigondeaux, 19-1 with 1 no contest, 13 knockouts and scoring. A knockdown here in round 7, less than a minute and a half left in the stanza.
And even Rigondeaux, when he and speaks to what Paulie said, in fights where he went long stretches of being defensive, often scored knockouts.
It's like a cuckoo clock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Explosion.
Solis is hanging in there now, though. I think he's got himself a little bit cleared.
Yeah, maybe cleared the cobweb.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he's not in danger anymore. But
60 seconds left in the 7th. Solis trying to get back into the round after going down for the 5th time in his career. He was down twice against left-handed Shinsuke Yamanaka in the last time he touched the canvas, and here another southpaw puts him on the deck. Although he was held on by the ropes, but the metaphor. Again, that left uppercut by Rigondeaux.
I think Rigondeaux should go back to the body again, just touch the body again there, because that's how he set up that shot to the head earlier. Was just get Solis looking downstairs and then whip it upstairs again.
Rigondeaux staying out of range of Solis' attack. And Solis with the slight reach advantage over Rigondeaux as we head to round 8. Rigondeaux attacking the body again with the left.
Ronnie Shields asked for engaging, and he sure did.
We will see where that left uppercut, which we talked about before the fight, nails Solis as he's coming in. So it speaks to the counter-punching ability. And there's where the knockdown happened. And Benji Esteves correct in coming in to say that was a knockdown. And making the count there, which kind of saved Solis a little bit, but it was exactly the right call. Later on, Solis not only cleared the cobwebs, he did get this shot in. Landed a really beautiful left hook as they traded left hands.
Yeah, I think Rigo was better even in that.
His was better in that sequence, but still it showed that Solis was fighting back and got something in.
Yeah, resilient.
Yeah.
Que no te sorprenda. Que no te sorprenda.
Round number 8 scheduled for 12 for a secondary 118-pound title. Rigondeaux, former unified 122-pound titleist, double Olympic gold medalist, making his debut at 118 against a former 115-pound titleist in Liborio Solís, who is making his American debut tonight.
Yeah, Solis has never even been to the United States, so this is his first time here.
And it's the first boxing event held here at the PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Rigondeaux with a big advantage when it comes to records past round 7. Again, Rigondeaux just out of range. A defensive maestro when he wants to be, especially in his prime, and yet still able to avoid Solis' attack, but not returning fire with any sustainability or regularity. And according to our unofficial scorer, Steve Farad, he has this fight deadlocked.
And in a fight like this, the 10-8 round is significant, to be sure. But we thought this was going to be a certain kind of fight in round 1, and it changed on a dime, which is intriguing.
Minute and a half left in the 8th as they grapple along the ropes.
But that's why Rigondeaux can control your output even if he's not throwing a lot of shots, because you know inside your head, it's even if you're pressuring him, he can come up with some explosive shot.
Yeah,
and he really sits on those, man.
Yeah, he does. Well, he is a good power puncher, and at this weight, especially coming down a weight, Ronnie Shields talked about it. You know, coming down, he brings power down with him, and if in fact they're correct about him getting down to 115, that would certainly be a weight where he brings some power down to him.
Good footwork and evasive tactics by Rigondeaux, and you can appreciate his defensive prowess, especially when there was next to no defense in our opening encounter.
Yeah, you know, it's certainly made this fight a less appealing one in terms of action, but
there's a nice
it's made it much more winnable for Rigondeaux, because we saw how round one went for him not well.
I suppose they could borrow from each other. The first fight could use a little bit of the defense from this fight, and this fight could use a little bit of the offense from the first fight.
Exactly.
15 seconds left in the 8th, and a pattern beginning to develop here as Rigondeaux doing a good job utilizing the ring, footwork, avoiding the, well, intermittent punches from Solis, and not throwing a lot back of his own as Rigondeaux continues to be defensive. And coming in April, Showtime brings you Outcry, a 5-part documentary examining the controversial conviction of a small-town high school football star.
A student, popular football player, evil child molester.
We find the defendant guilty. I've never woken up in the morning and wondered, did we get the wrong guy?
This trial was a sham.
There's been an outcry.
He's a great guy.
He was absolutely guilty.
They got it wrong.
Initially, I was pretty convinced of his innocence. Now I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Showtime continues to bring you compelling documentaries. Looking forward to watching the docu-series Outcry beginning in April.
Something I wish John Lester would do every time he pitches to the Chicago Cubs. Rigondeaux threw a shutout in the last round. 31 punches thrown by Solis, and according to ShowStats, nothing got home.
How about those Dodgers adding?
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's for sure. That was a big move on their part.
But I think we're here to call boxing, Mr. Bernstein.
The rumor has it, yes.
As Solis walking down Rigondeaux, but Paulie, again, you're the man who's a former 2-division champion, and wants you to just paint a word picture of what we're experiencing here in this fight.
Well, I think after the knockdown that Solis suffered, now he's going to be even less enthusiastic about taking chances. You know, I think he was growing in confidence, but judging from the way Rigo hurt him in that round, you know, I think it was almost part of the plan for Rigo to sort of lure him in and bait him in. Now Solis is back on this pressure moments, but now he's taking even less chances. And Rigo obviously looking to shoot more hurtful, more purposeful shots. I think, judging now with hindsight being 20/20, I think his intention was to maybe up the hurtful shots in the second half of the fight once Solis was confident enough to take some chances.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to get hit with as many punches as he did in round one, but nonetheless.
No, I definitely don't think so, Al, but I also don't think many of those shots got in. He did get hurt, but his intent even in round one was sort of to keep the high guard and maybe test out the power of Solis, which unfortunately for him he tested.
Yeah, right hand gets in for Solis, and that's the only thing it's been getting there. And we look at the power punches landed again, everything other than the jab, and you can see how it's tightened up. You know, after round one, clearly Solis with a monstrous edge, but now.
Wow, Rigondeaux hasn't even thrown 100 on round 9. But Solis definitely has to do a much better job of trying to corral Rigondeaux.
You see Rigo now shooting more counters.
Yes.
You know, he started to get a little more active, but he's a timing guy, and he's strictly a timing guy. He won't come out of his comfort zone either. You know, so he's not going to take those chances, but he's now seeing the shots a little bit better as opposed to just making a miss. Now he's also trying to make them pay.
And when he was at his best, Rigondeaux's timing would make metronomes envious. And Tukstadt Nyambayar says that his timing will be the key and maybe the difference against the incredible speed of Russell. Oh, there's a counter left hand there. Another big shot for Rigondeaux.
And that's, I'm sorry, that's where Solis squared up coming in. He does that, and he can't do that against Rigondeaux, obviously.
And it's just going to test the character of Solis. Is he going to now go into the shell, which what Rigo used to get guys to do in his prime? Or is Solis going to continue to take chances knowing that he's walking into some of these big shots?
We are through 9 rounds here. 118-pound fight. First boxing event at PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And let us reset our Showtime broadcast team for you here at the PPL Center tonight. I'm Mauro Ranallo. Along with me at ringside are analysts, Hall of Famer Al Bernstein, former 2-division champion Paulie Malignaggi. Jim Gray is our intrepid reporter. Steve Farhood, Showtime resident boxing historian, providing our unofficial scoring. And you can hear our broadcasts in Spanish by using the SAP function, where you will hear Alejandro Luna and former champ Raul Marquez providing the commentary. Felix de Jesus serves as our Spanish interpreter. And into the center of the ring, it is a classy Hall of Famer Jimmy Lennon Jr. and, of course, keeping everything together, our host with the most, because Brian Custer. We need to hire a few more voices. Come on now.
We need more announcers, that's for sure.
All right, here we go. Always a pleasure. And let's hope that round 10 produces a little more.
Let me say something too. This is as talented and as camaraderie-filled a group as I have ever been around in 40 years of broadcasting.
Do you have Cash App, Al? I'd like to make that. Thank you, sir. It's an amazing time, isn't it?
You paid for that, the compliment, Mo?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a delightful group.
How do Rigondeaux and Solis look to complement each other here in round 10? Rigondeaux continues to stick to the pattern, and again, Shields didn't want what he saw against Seau, but definitely going all the way to the other side of the spectrum. And yet he's shown his power. He has dropped Solis.
Yeah, the irony is Rigondeaux lands about 43% of his power punches, again, everything other than the jab. Tonight he's landing 42%. So while he has deadened this fight, as he sometimes does, in order to win it, in terms of percentage of what he throws and what he lands power-wise, it's very good.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't waste punches. But you know what? He did listen to Ronnie Shields. Right in between the rounds, the round he knocked him down. Right before that, Ronnie had told him. Ronnie Shields had told him. Great trainer Ronnie Shields. He told him, you know, you can move around, but make it count. You know, you got to throw some shot. You got to engage, and sure enough, he did.
Yeah, twice in this fight. The first time he told him after round 1, don't do that. Don't stand right in front of him.
Good shot there again.
And Rigondeaux unloading with the left, and another left as Solis standing right in front of him gets momentarily rattled, but still standing vertical, eyes wide open.
Solis is going to lose the habit of making faces at the end of every round soon.
Left hand to the body by Rigondeaux, and then avoids the counter right by Solis. Final minute of the 10th.
He wanted Rigo to engage it, but every time he engages, it's not good for Solis. I think Solis was probably better off. And Rigo is kind of sleepwalking through the rounds.
Again, Rigondeaux goes downstairs, avoids the attack upstairs.
Well, what Solis wants is for Rigondeaux to stand in front of him and make this a fight on the inside where they engage. And there he has some opportunity, but when it's at a certain distance, even a mid-range, there's a problem.
I'll tell you, let sleeping dogs lie, because you know when Solis has the best chance to win the fight is when Rigo's doing nothing at all.
No, that's true.
But by making faces at him and by doing all that, you kind of start pissing him off, and you're gonna remind him to throw those power shots.
Targets the midsection with the left hand.
See at the end of this round if he makes a face. See? He learned his lesson.
Let's get some water on your head here. See if you wake up a little bit. Come on. Let's go. Here we go. Wake up. Feel better? Okay. You got to keep working. There's only 2 rounds left, and we're down on the fight. You need to know what you're going to do in these last 2 rounds to win this fight.
A big moment in the last round for Rigondeaux, as he has countering Solis as he comes in. Rigondeaux gets out of the corner himself, classic move, and then lands that beautiful straight left hand. So we saw two elements there. We saw the great movement by Rigondeaux and the straight left, and then lands another one at a moment when Solis was in trouble.
And the cinematic spraying of water mixed with sweat.
Well, Paulie made a Raging Bull reference earlier, so.
Well, boxing's as cinematic as it gets. Here we go, round number 11. At Ring of Truth, who is going to discover the biggest truths about themselves here, as Rigondeaux debuting at 118 pounds despite being 39 years of age. 37-year-old Liborio Solís is a former belt holder at 115 pounds, and as we've touched on throughout the fight, fighters in lighter weight classes mature at an early age. So the fact that these two are in their late 30s fighting at 118 pounds, highly unusual.
Yeah, it really is. When these fighters get to the championship rounds, Rigondeaux, of course, is undefeated, and Solis 5-2, which is also a good record. But right now, they are correct in Solis's corner when they suggest to him that he needs to make something, probably make something dramatic happen. Though I don't think the scoring in this fight is probably outrageously wide. It would seem Rigondeaux would be ahead.
And according to our unofficial score, Steve Farhood, Rigondeaux's up by 1 point. There's a right hand by Solis.
Best shot he's landed in a few rounds.
Final 90 seconds of the 11th round. And Rigondeaux doesn't exactly respect the power of Solis. His hands down at his waist, trying to draw Solis into that right hand, and then he was able to parry it with his left.
Footwork of Rigondeaux kind of gets lost in all of this, you know.
Done very well.
Because people, you know, will look at the lack of output and sort of complain, but you know, the genius of Rigondeaux sort of it was one of the reasons it's sort of unappreciated. I know it's not a lot of action many times, but he is a little genius, even in every little detail he's doing. He's got inside the ring, and even the subtle footwork. This is a 39-year-old we're talking about here with this subtle.
Well, I think that's the part, the age part especially kind of punctuates it, because at that age to be able to do it is pretty extraordinary.
But he's not moving a lot, and that's kind of why his footwork is so subtly good. You know, I think at 39 you can't move a lot. He's moving, but you see he's not killing his legs with this movement. He's not bouncing all over the place. Here he is for a second, but sort of just kind of pacing through the ring. And so in this way you can conserve your legs and you can conserve your energy. So even at 39 years old, you can handle the pace.
How much energy do they have left to expend in the final 3 minutes of this fight, as there's 15 seconds left here in the 11th? And we are headed to the 12th and final round. Solis has been down once in the fight. And now Rigondeaux baiting him to come at him.
Let's go to work. Last round, okay. Now look, this is the last round. You got to pick it up. You got to finish strong. Okay? We need a strong finish. All right? Let's go. No professional. Let's go to work.
Don't worry about it. That is your last round. You got to go for the knockout, okay? You got to knock him out so we can win this fight. Don't look at me that way. I'm asking you to knock him out. You got to put the pressure on. We're in the 12th round? Yeah, we are. So let's go. You know what you got to do, all right?
Both fighters may know what they have to do. Will they be able to do it? 12th and final round. They touch gloves, and 40 seconds into round 7, Solis was knocked into the ropes. Benji Estevez ruled it a knockdown. That's been the only knockdown of the fight, and Solis now coming forward. He is yet to recapture the whirlwind of activity that he was in the first round.
And, you know, I think Ronnie Shields showed us why he's a fantastic trainer. He wants to make sure there's no chance that in those middle rounds, all those dull rounds that maybe there were some that didn't go Rigondeaux's way, that they don't accidentally leave this one on the table. So go in there and make sure you win this round decisively.
And Rigo came out to two sharp left hands to start the round, sort of just, you know, set the tone to let Solis know, listen, don't come out of pocket.
Solis coming in, but unable to throw a punch. Remember, we saw high drama in the 12th and final round of our opener, where Jason Velez dropped Jaime Arboleda, but then Arboleda pulled out the split decision victory. We're into the final, well, less than 2 minutes here in this fight at 118 pounds, as both Rigondeaux and Solis vying for his secondary 118-pound title, as Rigondeaux stabs Solis in the midsection with a jab. What's Rigondeaux footwork a little more interesting here, Paulie?
Well, you know, he's basically wasting all the energy he didn't. He saved so much that he's got extra energy
going
now.
up the soles of his feet instead of through his gloves.
He still has some in the tank, so he's going to use it.
But he's still trying to bait. All of this is also, he's also trying to bait Solis so he can counter with a big shot. You know, we talk about his footwork, but it's not like he's been running. He's been in punching range almost the entire
fight. It's funny,
fight.
he's the matador, but he's acting like the bull there with the
Look, he's in range almost the entire fight.
There's a right hand that lands.
Yeah, he hasn't made it a track meet, even with some. There have been periods where he's had tons of lateral movement, but not for the most part, no.
I don't know if anyone really wanting to secure the round, as it were, as Rigondeaux content to just utilize that footwork. Solis standing in the center of the ring, and the crowd here at the PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, letting them know what they think of what they have witnessed in this secondary 118-pound title fight.
I'll tell you what, the blood coming out of Solis' nose didn't make itself come out either, though.
What's the number one rule? Hit and don't be hit. Well,
that was the case.
Rigondeaux wasn't hit too much tonight.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. Somebody knows how to preserve himself.
All right, coming up, it's our main event. It'll be for Gary Russell Jr.'s 126-pound crown as he takes on the undefeated Olympic silver medalist representing Mongolia, Tuxdat Nyambayar. That's coming your way in tonight's main event.
I think the interesting thing as we await the decision will be the question of whether we assume Rigondeaux is probably going to win this fight, though certainly we've seen decisions that surprised us.
Jason Velez thought he was going to win it.
Well, but that was a whole different thing. When you look at these numbers here, obviously my point here is, will it be a wide variance in the scoring, or because of some of those middle rounds, we know that Solis won round 1 and maybe round 2, and maybe there's something else mixed in there, a couple rounds mixed in there, is, you know, and so the question is, how wide a variance would there be?
But even when you talk about power shots, Rigondeaux landed the cleaner power shots.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. We'll go inside the ropes and take a look at some sequences. Now, it began in a highly contested manner. That was the right hand that Solis landed right near the end of round number 1. And as the fight continued, it was Rigondeaux with his counter-punching, like that left uppercut and these straight left hands, and that was where he scored the knockdown. That was in round number 7, and that was an important moment in this fight because it created a 10-8 round for Rigondeaux and certainly would have some impact on the scoring. And the counter-punching of Rigondeaux was impressive. That one was from a sequence where he literally turned himself around off the ropes and got himself in punching position to throw those straight left hands. And there's no question, and we've pointed this out, that even though Rigondeaux is known as a defensive fighter, he can create offense.
Well, we saw a split decision in our opening contest. What will the official judge's decision be in this affair? Let's go to Jimmy Lennon Jr. to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we have a split decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Kevin Morgan, scores about 115 to 112 in favor of Guillermo Rigondeaux. Judge at ringside, Don Ackerman, scores about 115 to 112 in favor of Liborio Solís. And judge at ringside, Ron McNair, sees it 116 to 111 in favor of the winner, now a 2-division world champion, and now the new WBA Bantamweight champion of the world, Guillermo El Chacal Rigondeaux.
And just like our opening contest, not a popular decision with the fans here at the PPL Center in Allentown, as Guillermo Rigondeaux wins via split decision and wins a secondary title at 118 pounds.